Most excellent greetings, good evenings, nationwide, here tonight on Facebook Live with us. My name is Ian Robinson. I go by the name Ewok. I am the KwaZulu-Natal representative for the Theatre and Dance Alliance. I also sit on the fantastic inaugural National Steering Committee, and I sit on EXCO. But tonight, my role and my esteemed pleasure finds me here in this place as we are making history. And I kid you not that I feel we are indeed making history when it comes to the South African arts and creative sector this evening. I have to take a moment and pause to reflect on how it is that in the most unprecedented of times, where we are at, sitting with the stresses that we as society are feeling, particularly our sector, the stresses that we have had to experience over the last year and a half, coupled with the daily regular stresses of what it means to try to survive in the creative sector in South Africa, to have to deal with the rampant mismanagement, with the crisis in leadership that we feel from the top down, to get up every day and to be a creative and to be an artist in South Africa is the struggle that we know that it is. And even in this unprecedented time, the fact that we have arrived at this point where we are able to rise, to do what we do best, which is to respond, to react as we would have to do on stage. We are reacting to the moment right now, and we are rising in this most incredible of ways. We are making history tonight because tonight we are officially, together with I Am for the Arts and the Theatre and Dance Alliance, we are launching the Charter of Rights for South African Artists. I don't need to explain to anybody who knows the South African history how important it is to craft a charter when it comes to building anything sustainable and real in this country right now. And we have reached another moment where a charter is going to be the founding documents, the principles on which we are going to be able to build the policies that are going to secure our sector in a way that it has needed to be secure, and it is going to be secure from this point forward. If we are all going to be on the same page, moving forward as artists, united as artists, then this is the page that we need to be on. So I would like to thank everybody in attendance, and I would like to extend a special thanks to our guests and our presenters tonight, who I will be introducing. What we will be doing this evening is actually reading through the charter as it stands, explaining the charter in short form, and encouraging you all in attendance and anybody after the fact who picks up for this recording after the fact to understand that this is the beginning of a campaign. This is the launch of a campaign. The campaign is to get as many signatories from the South African creative sector, artists, associated artisans, as many signatories as possible to sign on, to endorse, to affirm the Charter of Rights for South African Artists. To date, and we are only talking about perhaps a week of running with it, we already have 418 signatures pre the launch. So we are sitting already at almost 500 signatures from around the country, nationwide, that are affirming themselves by endorsing this charter and connecting to each other as one community through the Charter of Rights for South African Artists. And we would like to encourage you moving forward from this launch to advocate for the charter, to understand the charter, to read it, and to move it forward together so that we can collectively be on the same page. It is a very special privilege and an honor for me this evening to introduce an artist and an activist and a voice and an energy in the art scene that also has somehow managed to find the time and the energy to be the chairperson of the inaugural Theatre and Dance Association National Steering Committee. Yes, there it is, the bright smile and the beautiful eyes, Sister Lindiwe Letwaba. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Ian, and thank you for that beautiful introduction. Good evening, colleagues. It gives us a great pleasure as TADA and I Am for the Arts in a joint effort to introduce the Artist Charter tonight. I think we all can agree that COVID-19 and 2020 were both a blessing and a curse for the arts sector in South Africa. As a sector, we learned and achieved a lot in our collective efforts in defending our industry, fighting for its survival, and ultimately saving our livelihoods. 2020 presented us a rare opportunity of self-introspection. I dare say that a lot has come out of this painful exercise. We collectively had to endure a harsh reality of being ignored by the DSEC, the mismanagement of the PSP by the NAC, how our grievances were handled, or should I say ignored, by the authorities mandated by government to ensure the well-being of our sector. This artist charter that we are launching tonight is for all participants in the sector. It's not limited to artists in the forefront, but it's inclusive of the crew, designers, choreographers, producers, and employers. These rights are for us, by us. They apply to all of us and relate to how we engage and treat each other as a community. We have successfully put these rights on paper. Now a call is made to all of us to advance and protect our rights. Thank you, Ian, back to you.
There it is. Thank you so much, Lindiwe. Much appreciated. As you said, I can only reiterate, for us and by us, for us and by us. And it is our chance to advocate on behalf of one another using this incredible mechanism. And once again, what we are going to do now is we are going to take everyone in attendance through the charter as it stands. It might seem like a major thing, but you must understand that it is actually, in its essence, very straightforward, very simple, and short. So don't run away. Don't go anywhere. The charter is coming at you now. To assist us in this regard, however, because we are, after all, the creative sector, we have put together a small presentation that is out of the ordinary, because this Charter of Rights for South African Artists is anything if ordinary. It's groundbreaking, it's history making, and we are inviting you to endorse it and understand it. So we are again privileged to have people taking the time out of what it is that they do to be with us this evening. And two of those people represent the co-chair of the campaign for the Charter of Artists' Rights in South Africa, representing from both I Am for the Arts and also from the Theatre and Dance Alliance. We have Tami Mbongo from I Am for the Arts, Lesego van Niekerk from Theatre and Dance Alliance. They are collectively the co-chair of the campaign moving forward. So there are no two better people more primed to be able to read the opening definition from the charter, where we define what it is that we speak of when we speak of an artist and artists who these rights belong to. And then we will hear the opening preamble of the charter, the basis for the charter, where the charter comes from. Following which we have a presentation that has been put together by the campaign, understanding the 13 rights as they stand on the page for us, by us, for you, from us this evening. So without any further spiel, I would like to introduce again from I'm for the Arts, Tami Mbongo reading the definition, followed by Lesego van Niekerk reading the preamble.
Definition. For the purpose of this charter, and based on UNESCO's 1980 recommendation concerning the status of an artist is someone who creates or gives creative expression to or recreates works of art in any discipline form: music, visual arts, theater, dance, literature, film, design, craft, and or who does so in an interdisciplinary or cross-disciplinary manner. An artist is someone who works vocationally in the arts, seeking to make their primary living within the arts, and self-identify as an artist and or is recognized as such by the public, by critics, and by their peers.
Thank you, Tami. Good evening. Preamble. Recalling Article 25 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Everyone has the right to a standard of living adequate to the health and well-being of themselves and their family, including food, clothing, housing, and medical care, and necessary social services, and the right to security in the event of unemployment, sickness, disability, widowhood, old age, or other lack of livelihood in circumstances beyond their control. Affirming the right articulated in UNESCO's recommendation concerning the status of the artist, for the artist to be considered as a person actively engaged in cultural work and consequently to benefit, taking account of the particular conditions of the artistic profession from all the legal, social, and economic advantages pertaining to the status of the workers. Considering Article 11 of the 2005 UNESCO Convention on the Protection and the Promotion of the Diversity of Cultural Expressions, in which governments acknowledge the fundamental role of civil society in protecting and promoting the diversity of cultural expressions, and shall encourage the active participation of civil society in their efforts to achieve the objectives of this convention. Recognizing Article 10 of the Charter for African Cultural Renaissance that commits state signatories to protect and promote the freedom of artists. Believing Section 16 of the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa that everyone has the right to freedom of expression, which includes freedom of artistic creativity. Recognizing the interdependence of artists and workers in the creative sector, such as stage managers, publicists, sound and lighting technicians, backstage crew, curators, administrators, educators, and many other kinds of co-workers. We, the artists of South Africa, assert the following rights for ourselves and, where relevant, for our co-workers, which we will actively promote and defend.
The right to our dignity, the right to be valued, respected, and treated ethically, and to be treated at all times with dignity, and not to have our chosen professions nor ourselves treated with disrespect by political authorities, social or cultural institutions, employers, contractors, or any other entity.
The right to work and to offer our labor in whatever form we choose, as full-time employees, part-time employees, independent contractors, freelance or self-employed workers, which forms shall not preclude us from the rights and protections afforded other workers.
The right to have the unique nature of large parts of our industry, and thus the irregular nature of income within our industry, recognized and made allowance for in relevant legislation, including labor and tax legislation.
The right to have the different nature and conditions within and between our respective disciplines recognized in policies and funding, without some being prejudiced because their disciplines do not conform to the political or economic priorities of the time.
The right to have our work, conditions of employment, and remuneration spelled out in clear written contracts.
The right to freedom of creative expression, and to have this right supported by public funding, whether the exercise of such freedom of creative expression is critical of any authority or challenges any dogma.
The right to protection of our intellectual property, and to fair remuneration when our creative contributions generate additional income further down the line.
The right to organize ourselves into professional associations and unions to defend and advance our rights without being prejudiced, either individually or collectively, for doing so.
The right of all, irrespective of whether they are able to afford such or not, to access publicly funded spaces to present their work with public funding and public funded institutions being obliged to address the issues of access.
Artists have the right to safe physical working environments, including reasonable hours of work where our health and our safety are not compromised.
The right to work free of harassment, bullying, and discrimination in any form, but particularly on the basis of gender, color, language, sexual orientation, economic status, age, physical disability, religion, and educational status.
The right to social benefits, including medical care, provision for old age and disability, security in case of unemployment, and support during parental leave.
The right to participate in formulating, implementing, monitoring, and evaluating cultural and employment policies that directly affect our lives and livelihoods.
I think the serious tone of what we have all just experienced, should we find ourselves inside an actual theater performance space, the silence as we let that settle would be followed by a resounding applause from wall to wall. It is, again, an incredible moment to be experiencing with everybody, to be part of this team. And as you have heard, it is as it stands. That is the South African Charter for Artists' Rights. And this is the launch, which means moving forward from here. It is about what we do with it. These are the principles that we collectively stand for. If we are going to want to drive change, to see policy change, this is the page from which we will all be speaking. And I would like to thank everybody that has brought us to this point once again. To give us our closing address, to close this auspicious occasion, our next speaker, while being known primarily for her voice, had to take an entirely different tone this year with that voice. And her voice became not just the voice of song, but the voice of struggle, as she took herself from her position and planted herself firmly in the position of an artist, an individual artist. And she drew a very, very clear line in the sand and invited anybody to decide which side of history they were going to stand on this year. And it is because of her and others like her and those that stood with her, or should I say, sat with her, that we are here today feeling like we are able to make the change that we need to see happen in society. Without any further ado, I would like to, with honor, welcome Sibongile Ngoma to the floor.
Thank you so much, Ian. Oh, wow, what an amazing introduction. I feel so honored and I feel so respected. You know, as artists in this country, we sometimes wonder if we're even visible. And that's why this charter is so important. When the Freedom Charter was drafted all those years ago, the issue was the lack of recognition from the government of the day. And artists in this country, in the new democracy, are finding themselves exactly in that position. The question is where were we dropped off? Who dropped the ball on the creative and cultural industries? And why? Why did that happen? And how did it happen on our watch? And tonight, this launch is essentially a wake-up call to our leaders to say, remember how our artists were at the forefront of the struggle to get you into these positions you are in today. You are called a president. You are called a deputy president. You are called a minister. You are called a deputy minister. You are sitting in an official capacity in a government position because artists made sacrifices And artists like you have rights. They have the same human rights, but where you failed to recognize the power of the creatives is that they are also able to demand specific rights for the cultural and creative industries. And this is why it's important that every creative in this country, not just performing artists, but every single creative in this country joins this campaign to ensure that we don't have another white paper that is a teenager that is not ratified because some government official feels that their position of power allows them to abuse the power that was granted to them by us through our votes. It's also become critical that policies are put in place to ensure that these very necessary rights are recognized and they're formalized. The fact that we are still not classified as workers with workers' rights in this country is problematic. It's concerning. That's why we are sitting with a mess like the PESP, like the relief funding, like the golden economy that you don't know whether you will get an answer today, 6 weeks from now, or 6 weeks from 6 months. So in essence, there's a reason why this charter is important. The same reason that Black people needed the Freedom Charter to be drafted all those years ago, because they felt marginalized, they felt excluded, they felt not seen, not heard. Now, when we say we have an integrated society, surely artists are part of that society. We are not just entertainment. You can't talk social cohesion if you don't understand the role of the arts. So today, mine is to say, all of us need to take our place, our rightful place in demanding what is right for all of us, for our generations, for those who went before us, for those who sacrificed for us. There are so many artists who died as paupers, as they say, but they made them paupers because they didn't ensure that their rights were protected and enshrined in a tangible document that can be referred to by generations to come. Ours is that generation that is here to make right. Whatever our predecessors got wrong, whatever we got wrong up until this point, it's time to fix, it's time to make right. And if this government is not prepared to listen, then we will do what needs to be done. We know how to protest peacefully using our arts and our art forms. We have instruments that don't burn, that don't loot, that don't kill, that don't destroy, but they build. And while doing it, also making sure that the wellness is not destroyed for the people in the moment and people supporting outside the moment. From me, Sibongile Mngoma, support the charter, sign, do whatever needs to be done. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Sibongile Mngoma, thank you so much. There is little more that needs to be said. Now we have launched. Now is the time to move this forward. We have 418 signatories to date. If I told you that there were only 418 artists and creatives in this country, you'd laugh at me. I can hear you chuckling right now. But we have to prove the numbers that we have. We have to prove the numbers that we are. We have to move this forward amongst each other. The history of the Freedom Charter in South Africa was that 50,000 volunteers went out and got signatories to endorse what would become the Freedom Charter, which would become the Constitution that is now standing resilient in this unprecedented time. That charter led to this Constitution. This charter, the Charter for South African Artists' Rights, we have no idea what it could lead to, but it has to lead. We have to lead, and we are taking the lead. The hashtag Action Artists' Rights. Hashtag Action Artists' Rights. That is how we are beginning to move the campaign forward. The handle at Artists Charter SA. At Artists Charter SA. All of this information is available at the Artists Charter SA Facebook page. You can find it on Instagram. You will be able to find the charter being read. You will be able to find readings of the charter. You will be able to find the link to the charter. And all that has to happen, my friends, my people, all that has to happen is you put your name down on that charter. We are sitting at 418 signatories today. I challenge you, we challenge you collectively, for the sake of all of us, for the work that has been done and the work that still needs to be done. Let us see just how large a movement we can build to take our rights for us, by us, forward. Thank you so much, Sibongile Mboma. I'm for the Arts, Ndiwe Letwaba, Theatre and Dance Alliance, Tami Mbongo, Lesego Fanika, the co-chairs of the Artists Charter campaign, who are going to be leading us from this point forward, and also to everybody involved in both organizations that sat through the meetings, that gave the time, gave the input, gave the energy, and made this possible. We do this for you, and you do this for us. So to everybody involved, a massive, massive thank you. Again, please remember that all you have to do moving forward is share the charter, sign the charter, share the charter again, share it again and again and again. Find the hashtag Action Artists' Rights at Artists Charter SA. Find the charter. Let's move the charter. Let's make it live the way that it was intended to live. So once again, from everyone on our side, from I'm for the Arts, from the Theatre and Dance Alliance, thank you for taking the time. Thank you for putting in the energy, but we're not done yet. That line in the sand stands. Which side of history are you going to find yourselves on? Please, from us to you, be safe, be secure, be strong, forward ever, backward never. A very good night from our side. Thank you very much.